like I'm talking about these different things that Diablo Immortal is all about, and there's like lots of activities and reward tracks and stuff. And what I find weird is that it's so imbalanced, and it feels like the team tried to make some fun stuff to do and some fun things to progress, but it feels unnecessary in the context of legendary gems. So that's been the talk of the town. How to get legendary gems. You have to do this. You have to buy into this and that. You're spending bajillions of dollars. All sorts of all sorts of craziness. And it's kind of true too. You do need to buy in order to progress in a time in what they say is a timely manner compared to others. But apparently, according to some big content creators who have poured thousands into it, who still haven't really gotten anything good out of it, I guess it's not guaranteed after all. So I find that weird that the whole legendary gem thing, the conversations around that, that doesn't seem to be it doesn't seem to be fitting the narrative, because it actually seems worse because you're still subject to RNG in the end. It's like not spending money doesn't increase your chances to get these things. It just gives you more opportunities to roll, which is, very gambly of it. But to me, I'm very emotionally detached from that notion, because I look at that and I'm like, oh, okay, well, I won't do it. Other folks are like, I am so disgusted, because that's I think if I look it up, that's probably an SEO term that will like that really takes off in search engines and stuff, and that's why disgust is like a big word that you see when it comes to. But of course, people are disgusted. They're very offended by it and all that. I'm not trying to diminish that and just turn it into like, oh, it's just clickbait. But it is weird, because there's all these different activities to do, but it seems to be dwarfed by legendary stuff. But at the same time, if you don't participate in the shop at all, then it feels fine. Actually, the progression feels like that's what it was crafted for. When you don't think about legendary gems, but then when you do think about legendary gems, and then the need to compete and the need to want to be the very best no one ever was, that sort of thing, then it becomes this super like degenerate, like, wow, you're really buying into this. This is like pretty nuts, and something that I don't agree with. But also, when I think about these other game modes, like doing this Shadows and Immortals thing, working these gems, doing these 8-man raids, and I think there's like at least one or two other things that I forgot. It's dwarfed by these gems, which don't which have effects and everything, but they don't do much apart from greatly increasing your stats. That's what they mostly are. They seem to be more stats than anything. They don't, like the gems, they don't translate. Those gems, they don't translate into things that are like cool for your class. That's what set bonuses and legendaries are for. So I kind of get that. But it's just odd that legendary gems, which are, extremely powerful, are just that. They're extremely powerful. They don't make the gameplay more interesting. They just take you to that next level. And I don't see that as the same thing. It's not my, I would argue that that's less fun. But that's what it is. So that's like one of like the big things for me, is that there's like all these sort of artificial little bits of progression that you need to work, and that's it's cool because like Diablo 2, that was very limited with its gameplay options. Diablo 3 was a little bit had a little bit more variety. There's like some strong co-op there, but PvP ended up not being a thing at all. That really sucked. And then and it went down the path that it went with seasonal stuff, which is also kind of cool because it made for a very accessible very accessible way to like, hey, I want to try out all this loot. I want to try out these builds. I'm being like, this shit is being like showered on me. This is great. And I get to try things out and then challenge myself if I want to go further, power up these gems, yada, yada, yada. And then that progression is, goes back to your non-season characters. It's a slightly convoluted thing, but it was very accessible. And I feel like, my other big thing on Diablo Immortal, at least at the moment, and I stopped at shortly getting into the Paragon stuff. So I'm max level. I beat the story. That was cool. That was fine. And then I realized, once I get to level 60, I can basically, for people who are familiar with Diablo 3, I can add in torments. I can go in, or they call it hell. So I can go into hell 1, hell 2, hell 3, hell 4, and get more rewards, better gear, which have higher requirements. It's like, instead of hey, you need to be level 60 to wear this thing, you need to be Paragon 5 in order to wear a thing, which is kind of lame. It's like, it's almost like maybe they should have just added levels instead, but instead of Paragon stuff, but whatever. And Paragon is its own reward, is its own power track, but that it's also levels, not a big deal. However, I noticed that once I do go into like these hell modes and stuff, and you can start doing like new quest content, like that's cool. But in a way, it also takes away your ability to do dungeons, which is weird and a huge turnoff for me. I'm like, okay, I go into a dungeon, or I walk into a dungeon, you get like a UI thing that lets you like go inside or whatever. And as you're leveling, you can just go right in. You can solo the dungeon. Great. Awesome. But when you go into those higher difficulties, that play button, that enter button, it's grayed out, because in order to run those dungeons, you need to be in a group. You have to be partnered with someone. And this is different. Diablo 3, Diablo 2, they didn't have those sorts of things. It was more like, okay, you can solo. Here is your magic find, whatever it is. Oh, here's 2 people. Your magic find is modified by a little bit. I don't know what the numbers are. It's modified by a little bit. You get greater chances of stuff to drop. And of course, you can trade things to others, yada, yada, yada. Yay, that's fine. Here, you're blocked out. From doing dungeons at higher difficulties, unless you're in a group. Like, imagine if Diablo 2, if you progress from normal to nightmare to hell and all that, but in nightmare and hell, you couldn't do, you couldn't kill the act bosses because you can only solo the act bosses in, on normal difficulty. And you couldn't do them like at higher difficulties. It's kind of dumb. Or imagine Diablo 3, you're trying to be like, okay, I want to do greater rifts. All right, cool. You can do greater rifts like up to like 50 by yourself. But if you want to go higher, even if you have the gear for it, if you want to go higher, you have to be in a group. That's dumb. So I really don't like the fact that as I'm getting stronger, there's less for me to do, or there's less access for me. I mean, I could still do normal dungeons if I wanted to. It's not like that's cut off. It's not literally cut off for me. But if I want to do those, I'm gonna have to like leave. I'm gonna have to go to town, change my difficulty. That's how it's done there. You have to go into the main town in Westmarch, lower your difficulty, and then you can do like those dungeons. So that way you can progress through the battle pass, take advantage of whatever daily things that are going on there. And that doesn't feel right to me. I don't quite understand why wanting to do higher difficulty dungeons requires a group. Someone on Twitter like I let people know that I'm doing a review and blah blah blah. And someone on Twitter asked, because they knew that I have a big problem with this whole group thing. They're asking me like, why do I have a problem with something like this in Diablo, but I don't have a problem with something like this in WoW? And the answer is it's very, for me at least, it's very simple. I like playing Diablo solo. That's it. I like the personal journey. I like logging in at my own time, not being bothered by nobody. I want to be able to walk away whenever I feel like, jump back in, jump out, whatever. Sit around and not do shit for a while. I enjoy playing by myself when I'm playing a Diablo game. At Tuesdays and Thursdays from from my time from 7 o'clock to 10 p.m., I want to be engaged with my guild, with my group, my fam, and I want to take on raids, and I want to beat up bad guys. And we got Lords of Dread yesterday, and that felt good. I celebrate players wanting to enjoy games their way, and they should have fun doing it. And when it gets weird, then I think people should share their feedback on that and listen to that. Now, of course, people will disagree and be like, well, why don't you just stop being a bitch and join a group? I don't want to. I don't feel like it. I tried out some of the other group contents. Like I tried out the 8-person raid. I did that once, and like, oh, okay, that was cool. That was neat. But it's just not my thing. And I guess I would consider those 8-man raids or whatever they are. Hey, I'll take my time for that. I'll do it. But if I want to just jump in real quick and just do a dungeon, I want to be able to just jump in and do a dungeon by myself. And my skeletons and my golem and my and my skeletal mage. I just want to do that for like 5-10 minutes, and then I'll go about my day. I can't do that. Or after a certain point, I can't exactly do that. I mean, like I said, I could do it in normal difficulty, but I'm not getting any of the good shit. And there's no, and it seems like there's no. I'll have to double check the tooltip, so I will need to jump back into the game. Oh no, and take a look at how those rewards work, because there are dungeons that are highlighted, and they say, hey, you get a chance to get set bonuses here when you run it in Hell 1 and higher. Which means I have to run it in a group, which means if I don't run it in a group, I don't take advantage of those bonuses. And I didn't realize that. So I'm like, wait, this is bullshit. That's fucked up. Why does it's one thing to have a gameplay loop that that kind of relies on heavy use of the in-game shop, because I can at least make a choice and be like, hey, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do it my way, and I'm not going to do that. But when I'm trying to do harder stuff, and all of a sudden the thing that I was used to doing, I can't do it anymore, I don't get it. That really doesn't work for me either. I really wanted to play this, but I'm not dropping cash into it. Like one thing that I will say in the review, like if you want to play through the story, it's worth the money. No, it's fun. It's great. It feels good to play the free content, honestly. And if you are fine with grouping with people, if you have no problems with that, then you're going to go farther than I did for sure. You'll be able to at least get set gear and try and mess around with that stuff, and I think you'll have a better time than I did. But when I do this review, this is a personal review, and I'll at least point that out, that hey, you take it to that next level, you'll be able to enjoy more of the game. But I'm pretty sure I'm not entirely alone with my player habit and my player behavior. And some people are going to be like, okay, I get where this dude's coming from. I'm not really cool with that either. And ultimately, I'll just tell people, hey, play it for this, play it to try it out, go through the story. Takes a couple, it takes a couple of hours a day for a few days to like get through it. and then see what you think. It's like a long intro to the game. That's what playing through normal is, and that's very typical of Diablo 2. Not Diablo 2, but TOO, whatever. It's a good intro. Beyond that, though, then you're left making choices. Okay, what is it that you're into? Are you into like lots of group-based content? Okay, cool. Then Diablo Immortal offers more options for you that you didn't have before. More co-op gameplay stuff. There's PvP for a change. Hey, what do you do? But especially with PvP, if you're going to get into that competitive environment, watch out, because that'll eat you alive, and that's when that's where you're definitely going to find clashes between people who pay and don't pay, and the differences between them. So, no, you don't necessarily have to drop cash into it. And here's the other thing, like, even if you were to go the route of, okay, cool, this game has taken up enough of my time, I'm going to pay what I feel is like the box price, $20 bucks, $30 bucks, $60, whatever. The problem that I have there too, so I'll talk about the shop a little bit, is that it doesn't really get you anything permanent at all, unless you buy the skins. So if you want to buy the skins to enjoy the skins, okay, cool, that's one thing. But I noticed that the cash shop, otherwise it doesn't get you anything tangible. There's no gear necessarily that you get from the shop. You just get more opportunities to roll for loot. Too bad though. I mean, maybe I'll jump in every now and then, because I'm wondering, like, if I stop playing for like a month or two, and then I go back, are they going to do what other free-to-play mobile games do and be like, welcome back, daddy, please don't leave us again, here's some free shit? I'd be like, yeah, give me like $100 worth of stuff to like come back for a day and then blow it all and then leave for another 2 months. It's kind of a very typical free-to-play sort of thing. And as someone who's played a lot of free-to-play games, there are definitely differences that I've seen from like different monetization models. And one thing that Diablo Immortal does not do, which is quite regrettable, is that the premium currency, I forgot what it's called, there's no way to get into it without paying for it. There are other games where it's like, okay, there's like gems, and then that's the virtual currency, and you can buy a shitload of gems if you want to, but every day you log in, you get a small amount of these gems, or whatever. Or if you complete certain achievements, you get a certain amount of gems, and that lasts for a while, but then it dries up, and then that's when it's like, okay, we got you locked in, now you're gonna have to buy into it, which is predatory in its own sense, don't get me wrong. But having at least that opportunity to taste that, for opportunities for gamers to be like, okay, I'm gonna plan around this so I don't have to pay anything, and then I'll do this and this and this, while other people do end up buying into it. It's very, like I said, very predatory, because it still takes advantage of people's impatience and people's wants and needs and the need to compete and all that stuff. But it does, from my perspective at least, it does kind of suck that that opportunity is not there. Boo. Transmog's the real game anyhow. The transmog in there does look good. The paid transmog, not so much. It feels like way over the top. There's like frozen skull thing. There's weird looking suits, spikes, spikes. But it's not enough of a draw. I'm a fan, but I'm not that big of a fan to want to celebrate that sort of stuff. Like, I don't want player housing in Diablo. I don't really want to live in that Diablo universe, because that universe is, well, pretty shitty anyway. Ugh. Everyone dies. No one's happy. No one's enjoying themselves. How are there children in this game? Who would want to raise children? But that's going to sum up what most of my review is. which is not gonna put it in a very good light. Like, it's the enjoyment of the game, the way I'm seeing it, is limited to playing for free, playing through the story, and then just kind of existing in that track. But once you want to step up higher, the game is going to ask you to put yourself into situations that you're not used to in a Diablo game. You must group in order to do this, or you must buy in order to participate in this. And the game presents those challenges to you, and it's kind of a filter. And unfortunately, that filtered me out. So I'm not gonna be a part of it unless there are like some changes. It doesn't sound like it would be like that big of a stretch to be like, you know what, fuck it, fuck the whole group requirement. Let's just let them play. Because then my attitude would be different. I would feel like I have more opportunities to beef up my character, to get better gear, because those opportunities are there. I can roam, even before this, like I can still roam the land and try to take out like world bosses in like the hell mode, and I'll need a group for I would need a group for that, but it's kind of like world bosses in WoW. If there happens to be people that are there going at it, cool, let's go, let's fucking kill it together. And frankly, I don't know if there are opportunities to get set gear outside of dungeons or Elder Rifts or whatever. But then I'll kind of I guess that kind of goes into the review too. Like, I'll kind of blame the game for not really giving me the confidence to be like, no, you could still like get stuff out here. There's still stuff to be found. I guess there's still like legendaries and stuff, but I want to mess around with set bonuses and all that. So I think, just like most games, I think for most games that are like games as a service, maybe I'll just wait for this thing to mature a little bit more and see what kinds of revamps that are happening right now, because I don't think the Diablo team has really spoken out much, which I think is good. They have sent out surveys, and you're not even allowed to talk about what's in the surveys or what the questions are, so whatever. But they have sent out surveys to folks. And they're taking, and my hope is that they're taking the time to listen and then respond to it. I don't think it would be a good idea for them to immediately say, hey guys, we hear you, we're going to do stuff, because I think that would stunt people from playing altogether. I mean, it's already stunting people from playing, but I would argue that it might do even more damage, because it'll take the people that are currently playing and make them stop too, because they'll be like, oh, things are going to happen, I'm going to hold off on stuff until they make a decision. There's no good way out for the Diablo Immortal team for this one. I think they're just going to, they're going to just have their player base. They're going to exist, and people are going to, try it out, jump in every now and then that's going to be the thing. That's what they'll do. I feel like I talked about most of it. Maybe I'll post this as my review. Haha, stay safe, stay healthy, stay breezy.